This week we are looking at Standard 6I, which states compare the Progressive Era and the New Deal, and 6J, which says examine the emergence of the United States as a world power. And then it's got the era of the U.S. overseas expansion, World War I, World War II, and the Cold War. The embedded concepts for Standard 6I is that I should obviously know about the Progressive Era, and also know about the New Deal era, and then I should be able to compare these two different time periods in history. Number 2 says embedded concepts of Standard 6J, and I should know how the U.S. became a world power, and know about the U.S. expanding west. I should be familiar with the entrance in the World War I, the U.S. entrance into World War I, and what exactly we did in that war, and the entrance in World War II, and what we exactly did in that war, and I should obviously know about the Cold War, and that's how we, secured our world power status, especially. The critical content for Standard 6I is I should know details concerning the Progressive Era. This is a time where there were social, economic, political reforms. You had prohibition, eliminating child labor, restricting immigration, better work conditions, women's suffrage, and corruption of government, Elizabeth Stanton, and Seneca Falls. So this is a very critical time in U.S. history, and I should also know about the details concerning the New Deal. And obviously Franklin Delano Roosevelt came up with the New Deal. It stemmed out of the Great Depression. You have Roosevelt's Emergency Banking Act. The first 100 days he was going to change the economy around. You've got ending prohibition, so it's interesting to see that in the Progressive Era prohibition started, but in the New Deal era it ended. You've got the Tennessee Valley Authority Act, the end of agricultural surplus, National Industrial Recovery Act, Agricultural Adjustment Act, Progress Administration, and Court Packing Plan. And this is basically all the things that tried to help the U.S. get out of the Depression, out of the Great Depression. And comparing the two, this just gives me an idea. The Progressive Era endorsed Prohibition, the New Deal ended Prohibition, and then both of these eras have programs and policies to change the work field and help individuals move out of poverty. Those are like the key components of each time period. The critical content for Standard 6J is that I should know about the U.S. expansion. Westward expansion, West was in their sphere of influence. I should know about the U.S. entrance into World War I and the impact from World War I. You have President Wilson, who really wanted to stay isolated from other countries, but then you have the sinking of Lusitania, which really brought us into World War I. You had German U-boats and the Zimmermann telegraph. And, I need to know about the U.S. and World War II. We obviously entered the war on December 7th, 1941. The most important moment in World War II was the atomic bomb being dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You have the Battle of Midway and D-Day. These are just some of the battles that occurred in World War II, and we really emerged out of World War II as a dominant world power. And then you had the Cold War, where we came as like the #1 world power. So you've got it goes between the U.S. and Russia. You have the space race, Sputnik, moon landing, East Germany and West Germany, East Berlin and West Berlin, Berlin Wall, and the collapse of the Soviet Union. The key skills for Standard 6I and 6J is that I should compare the Progressive Era and the New Deal, and I should examine the emergence of the U.S. as a world power. The era of the U.S. overseas expansion. You have World War I, World War II, and the Cold War. The key verbs is that I should compare, so I should definitely know about both the Progressive Era and the New Deal, and I need to examine how the U.S. exactly became the world power, and became, or feeling the need to be responsible over the things that occur in the world, or that occurs in the world, should I say. The core task of Standard 6I and 6J is that I should look over information from the Progressive Era and the New Deal era and be able to compare the two. Like, look at their likes and look at their differences. And for Standard 6J, I should look over the key events that led to the U.S. being a world power. You know, the overseas expansion, World War I, World War II, and the Cold War. I should look into the details and just the impact we had on each of those times. Now, the resources that I found, I have the Progressive Era. This just really talks about it. I have the New Deal Era, which covers, you know, obviously the New Deal. I've got the Progressive Era and the New Deal, and this covers over both of World War I. This gives us a little information about the U.S. and the World War I, and I was supposed to add about the World War II, and I'll add that one after this video. So here are my resources, and that is Standard 6I and 6J.